Okay, so we're gonna type drjoedispenza for Nima.
Know the difference between the real life experience and what you're imagining. You start to install the neurological hardware to look like you already did it. The rehearsal process changes the brain to look like.
When someone's looking for abundance, it's never about the abundance. It's about the change they need to make for healing.
No, I'm using healing as an example.
Yes.
But let's use abundance as an
Yes.
example. When you understand that you cannot get abundant, when it's no longer about the game called abundance, it's about the game called change. Mm-hmm. What do I need to change? The more I change, the more I'll be abundant.
Yes.
So then it's no longer how come it hasn't happened? That's the old personality, separate from the experience, still in lack, asking that question.
Which is creating your current reality.
Which is reaffirming it, because that's the lens you're perceiving it through. Okay. So
we should be focusing more on what we need to change every moment as opposed to the abundance or the healing.
Well, the word meditation means to become familiar with. Sit with yourself long enough and not turn on your cell phone, not scroll through your social media, do no TikTok, no emails, none of that.
Okay, so this guy is pretty direct. And he is pretty freaky. Holy shit, he's direct as fuck. It's like you could feel the force. Like, he's pretty forceful with his language.
That stuff. Don't just sit and close your eyes and watch the thoughts that come up. That's the exact reason why you're not abundant. Watch what you want to do when you're feeling lack, to take away the lack, and there's always something you would do to take it away. But sit with the lack and be curious on what's on the other side of it, right? Mm-hmm. Because the body's programmed into lack now subconsciously, right?
All right.
So
he's getting abstract.
The emotion of lack drives our thoughts and drives our behaviors. So it makes sense then that if an emotion is a record of the past, then we're doing things habitually from the past. We're thinking in the past, right? So lower the volume.
He's talking about the body in a way of a system. So far we got direct, abstract, and system points.
The emotion, every time you notice lack comes up, and just like breaking any addiction, there's going to be cravings, right? So the body's going, hey, Lewis, it's been about 2 hours since
you're so used to doing this.
Yeah, you've been thinking lacking thoughts about 150,000 times a day, and you're just going to stop now. The body's going to start influencing the mind and say, it's not going to work. You're a loser. It didn't work before. It's too hard. Everybody else.
That's why it's so hard for people to like lose weight or get in shape. Because you might try it for a few days, and then the cravings, or I'm tired and I want to go default back into the old personality.
Right, because why? Because the body, which has been conditioned, the mind, the body is the unconscious mind. So the body's got used to the familiar feeling. Even they don't even know it's lack. It's just how they feel. It's not guilt. So so let me finish. So the hardest part about all of this is making a different choice. And the moment you decide to make a different choice, get ready, it's going to feel uncomfortable.
Right.
It's going to feel unfamiliar. Your body's all of a sudden saying, hey, Lewis, why don't you start thinking those same exact thoughts, do the same things, make the same choices, demonstrate the same behaviors, have the same experiences, so you could feel that feeling of lack. Complain again to somebody, call somebody up and say how miserable your life is, right? And that's the known, right? So the body is always influencing the mind to return back to the familiar territory.
To the default.
The default, okay. All right, so now the person says, okay, what thoughts do I not want? What would an abundant person think this way? The people in our work that have created. I had a guy come to our event. I love this guy. He healed himself. He tried to take his life 3 times. When he told me that when he came to our work, he didn't have $2 to rub together. He's worth hundreds of millions of dollars now, and he just keeps giving it away.
Wow.
His lesson wasn't the wealth, it was who he became. So it's the overcoming process that is the becoming process. Right?
Who did he become in that journey?
Exactly. He had to get beyond.
He's talking about what he became in the journey, so you can put down a point for progression.
All the mistakes he made, all the things he did wrong, all the money he owed there, all of that. That was like, he just had to no longer be that person any longer. But he did say, how would a wealthy person live? And when he created his wealth, what do you think the first thing he did?
Started giving?
Giving it away. Why? Because an abundant person doesn't have any lack. And he knows how to create more of it. And he's in the experiment. Well, what would happen if I keep giving it away? He keeps getting more. That's a good experiment to have, because he is actually living in that abundant state. He also had tremendous healings taking place, because when you heal your heart, you heal your mind. I mean, it's just the way it is. We saw it so many times, right? So he healed his heart. He got an upgrade. He got an upgrade, right? Yeah. So then the next fundamental question is, how would an abundant person think? Write it down, dude, and fire and wire those thoughts in your brain and install them.
Okay, so I'm taking abstract off the board. This guy's abstract, okay? This guy's abstract. It's fucked. And he's direct. So he's abstract and direct. We are looking at NT or NF. Okay, are we looking at a structured person or a finisher? So far we got TFI statement and progression. So it's looking like more, he's looking like an INTJ, but we're gonna keep going.
The hardware, keep doing it with attention and intention. It becomes the new voice in your head. It becomes the software.
He keeps talking about the process. He keeps going through, the process to get to this, the process to do that. What's the abundant mindset? So he's pretty progression heavy.
Program. Then say, okay, how am I going to be in my life today? What would an abundant person, how would they behave? And before you reach for your cell phone and start scrolling through your social media, close your eyes and rehearse in your mind how that person would walk, how they would...
Talk about affirmations, man. I told you this guy's abstract as fuck.
Breathe, how they would smile, how they would greet people, how they would be on Zoom calls, how would they be in traffic, how would they be at dinner. And the act of closing your eyes and mentally rehearsing the act, if you're truly present, the brain does not know the difference between the real life experience and what you're imagining. In fact, just a little bit of time, you start to install the neurological hardware to look like you already did it. Now the brain is no longer a record of the past. It's primed for the future. Keep doing it. Keep
future
rehearsing.
Focus.
No different than playing an instrument. No different than learning how to dance. No different than learning
Talking
how
about
to
system.
act or play a sport. Everybody's always rehearsing, right? The rehearsal process changes the brain to look like you've already done it. You've already experienced it. Now, what's the essential part of that? The hardware is in place. Now all you gotta do is step into the footprint. Keep doing it. It becomes a software.
This guy's talking about, if you ain't noticed through that whole thing, he's talking about the progression, the process, all of that. This guy is a finisher, and he's looking like an INTJ, because we got systematic points and we got TFI. He's looking like an INTJ. But he's definitely a finisher.
When you start acting like an abundant person, everything changes. Your energy changes, your mood changes, the way you walk, the way you breathe, your posture changes. You're out of the known, right? Yes. You got to condition the body now emotionally into the future.
Future
Can't open
focus.
your eyes in the morning until you are feeling worthy to receive. And if you can't feel worthy to receive, then if not now, when? If it takes you 2 hours to get there, ask me if it's worth 30 years of running, trying to get what you need matter to matter. Okay, so then the person who wrestles with their lack, they're out of the bleachers and they're on the playing field. Now, here's what we learned. Let's go back to beliefs now. So remember, a belief is just a thought you keep thinking over and over again. A belief is something that you keep thinking enough times that you hardwired in your brain and it becomes an automatic program. And we have beliefs about all kinds of things: money, relationships, God, whatever it is. It's all based on what we've been told or our past experiences, right? The boundaries of those beliefs are our emotions, right? So let's just say you got betrayed or somebody abused you or your father told you that money was bad and there's never enough of it or whatever. That's a story.
All right, we've already taken abstract, direct,
but somehow it left
progression
an
off the
impression
board.
on you. Remember that event very clearly, and that's kind of rooted in who you are.
We're down to 2 types, INTJ, INFJ, but dude, this guy's systematic, so he's an INTJ.
Okay, so that emotion then is the boundary of our belief. Okay, so how you think and how you feel creates your state of being. If you take a thought and a feeling, 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 that's called an attitude. It's a series of good thoughts.
Talking about the system, the progression.
You say,
system, the progression.
You have a series of negative thoughts that are connected to a series of negative feelings. You say, I have a bad attitude today. So attitudes are just shortened states of being. Good attitude in the morning, bad attitude in the afternoon. If you take an attitude, and you keep those up, and you string attitudes together, you create what's called a belief. And a belief is just an extended state of being. So if you keep thinking the same thought, you keep hardwiring it in the brain, you keep feeling the same feeling, you keep conditioning in your body, the redundancy of that cycle over and over again conditions the body to subconsciously become the mind of that belief. And all beliefs are subconscious states of being. Okay. Take a belief, and you string them together, you form what's called a perception. And perceptions are just such extended states of being that we're unconscious, and so then we edit out reality. In fact, most people don't see things the way they are, they see things the way they are, right? And people are always filling in reality unconsciously based on their memory. They could be married to a person for 40 years, and they don't see the person, they see the memory of the person, right? And there's research to prove this, okay? So how do we change a belief or perception about ourselves?
Okay, so we're done here. Joe Dispenza is fucking abstract as fuck. Okay, he's always talking about ideas, systems, just contextual things. He is abstract as fuck. He's direct, and everything he said here is progression. He hasn't really said anything about like a desired outcome. He's been talking about the progression to everything, the progression from the body, from everything he's talking about. He's progression. He's abstract. He's direct. He's systematic, and he's TFI. So Joe Dispenza is an INTJ. Yeah, we're done here.